And I know we've talked about inspections a lot, but you have to continue to put full emphasis on this point, because Buffalo would not have had a vacancy and abandonment crisis if we had inspected our buildings. And it's still going on today. You go down any of the major commercial strips, there's buildings that are falling apart. Sometimes the city owns them themselves. Other times they're owned by people that somehow never get inspected. So in other communities, Rochester, they've made it the goal of their municipality to look inside buildings, and they've been doing it for 2 generations. They never had the demolitions. And you know what else they don't have? They don't have our lead poisoning problem. Because in Rochester, chipping paint is not just something that's an aesthetic. They recognize chipping paint leads to kids with lead poisoning, leads to lifelong cognitive disability, and it's so easily prevented. They drove down their lead poisoning rate by 50% by simply walking in the house and pointing at chipping paint. No x-ray machine, no test. Just said, fix this, fix that, fix that. Average cost of repair in Rochester, $60. And somehow that's a burden. You know, I used to be a special education attorney, and the commonality of all the cases I was seeing, you get their records, lead poison, lead poison, lead poison. Awful tragedy for the family, but we as a community pay for that. Our special education costs are so high because we can't figure out how to get an inspector to walk into an apartment and say, you can't have peeling and chipping paint. So we're on the wrong side of the balance on that. The more we continue to push on that, the safer our society is going to be. And, you know, the tragedy of lead poisoning, it doesn't go away. You know, the cognitive deficit does not get restored. It's not like a broken arm where your arm heals again. That damage to the brain, those lowering the IQ points, they are never restored. It's a slow motion tragedy that we're watching in Buffalo. And I'll just close with this. I had a renewed interest in this after being on this for years. And Assemblymember Rivera and I have a bill making sure insurance companies pay for lead damages. They don't now, but during the Flint, Michigan water crisis. We all came together. We filled up trucks with water and brought them to Flint, Michigan like we should be doing. But guess what? During their water crisis, their lead poisoning rate never met Buffalo's year in and year out lead poisoning rate. They recognize that as a tragedy. We just got used to this tragedy, but that's one thing that's got to stop. Thanks so much for all the good work you do. Thanks to every one of your partners.